Hey guys, Meteorologist Chris Tomer here on this Sunday. All right, look at this. This is so good to see. Snow coming down up there across the Wasatch as expected. Cold front moving in. So this is solitude. And snow coming down at Honeycomb Canyon, Sunshine Bowl. And it's going to snow most of today across the Wasatch. And I'm looking for moderate snow accumulations. So this should be a pretty good snowfall, and I've got an additional one in the forecast as well. Here's Alta, snow coming down up there off High Rustler. Here's radar across the west, and it's pretty obvious. There's your cold front digging in, and I talked about this yesterday, how this cold front, this storm system, will come just a little bit further to the south and hit more squarely into Utah, and that's what we're seeing with these winds coming in. Ramping up against the Wasatch there, getting some orographic snow, and then eventually this front will move into Colorado this afternoon, tonight into early tomorrow. So that will be the evolution of that cold front. Let me take you to water vapor satellite imagery, give you the big view here. So moisture on this in the whites and the blues, and you can clearly see the front right there with the storm system barreling into Utah, and then again, that's going to move into Colorado this afternoon and tonight. Then what's next? Well, you've got the flow out here, and then there's your sort of northwest flow. So whatever's out here in the Pacific, there's your next storm. All the energy will come up over the top and end up cruising down into basically the same position there across the Intermountain West. And I've got a total of 3 storm systems, 2 to 3 cold fronts in the forecast. In fact, here are my bullet points. I'll time these out. So we've got a cold front today. Now, this is the one where I think at least 50% of the snow I'm forecasting in the Wasatch will occur today with this cold front. Another one comes in 12-2, 12-3, and indeed, number 3 is 12-5 into 12-6, 12-7, maybe early 12-7. So here are your best odds of accumulating snow for Colorado, Tahoe, Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, interior BC. So for example, in Utah, moderate accumulations today, and then moderate on 12-2. Light on 12-5, and then potentially moderate to heavy on 12-6. In Colorado, the snow hits this afternoon tonight into the first, moderate to heavy accumulations. That's the same storm system that's hitting the Wasatch right now. And then afternoon, 12-2, evening, light, moderate 12-3, 12-4, and then light on 12-5. I won't go through all the dates, but you can see them. You can plan it out just like that. Here's the forecast radar. So starting it up at lunchtime today on Sunday, November 30th, you still have leftover snow across Utah, but the main front now is digging into Colorado and generating snow across a lot of the mountain zones. And this front will bring the temperatures down. And as the colder air filters in, that will help the efficiency of snow production in the atmosphere. So yes, there's orographic snow. We've seen that happening in Salt Lake, up in the Wasatch. So we'll have orographics, and we'll bring in colder air and help with the snow ratios with this storm. All right, so that's lunch. There's the dinner hour. And on its way through, I'm just kind of looking at Denver. There might be a touch of snow around Denver, 5280 down there. Maybe another dusting. We picked up 0.2 between Friday night, Saturday morning. So that was the first official snow in Denver, and that was the second latest that's occurred on record. So we picked up 0.2. We might get another 0.2 as this front races on by. All right, here we go. This is 5 a.m. on Monday. We're clear. Here comes the next storm. So here's 5 a.m. on Tuesday, and this is December 2nd. So here's your next cold front. So it's basically December 2nd into the 3rd. That's the second cold front. And you can see the energy diving in with this storm system. So here we are at lunchtime. So this is lunchtime on Tuesday, December 2nd. Snow is now moving into the Wasatch, the high Uintas. Still snowing in the Tetons, but moving into Colorado at this point. So here's the dinner hour. And here's 5 a.m. on Wednesday, December 3rd. Now, this front, essentially right there, you've got snow potentially all the way down to Denver in the Front Range. And this one certainly looks like it's going to be more than 0.2. This one could be, we could be measuring like an inch or two out of that one. But notice the snow in the mountains there, left over in Utah, left over across parts of Wyoming. So that would essentially be the second storm system right there. Then there would be another one, number 3, behind that. Okay, let's check out the, just a quick look at the time height forecast. This is Snowmass ski area today. So a slice through the vertical atmosphere over the next 3 days. That's where we start, and then that's where we end 3 days into the future in that direction. So as the day wears on, notice the green here. That's your moisture. So the column of moisture is pretty deep, even over Snowmass there. And you're looking at snow this afternoon, tonight, into Monday morning. That's what you're seeing right here. So we got that. And then we have another little batch of moisture coming in with that second cold front, and that's going to happen the afternoon, evening of the 2nd through the 3rd. So we've got 2 different cold fronts right here, 2 different storm systems essentially. And again, that's Snowmass. All right, looking at the atmospheric pressure anomalies. So this is Wednesday the 3rd, and there is our cold front and storm system diving in. You can see that very clearly with that drop in pressures. All right, now looking even further down the road, this is 12.5. And this is another cold front. You can see it here with the storm system setting up around right there. So you've got storm system today, another one 12.2, 12.3, and then a third one around 12.4, 12.5, 12.6, somewhere right in that time frame. Look what's happening. Behind it, you've got higher pressures building in. Now, this is the pressure anomalies. These are the pressure anomalies for Wednesday, 12.10. I've been alluding to this the last couple of days. Look at the big drop in pressures out here across the east versus the rise in pressures, the higher than normal pressures across the west. This is something that could set up 12.8, 12.10, somewhere in that time frame. I would certainly dry things out, represent a drier pattern across the west. All right, here's precipitation over the next 5 days, as if everything fell as rain. And notice the pattern is basically this. It's right out of the northwest. So whatever's coming down the pipeline ends up running right into the Intermountain West. And I don't see, I'm looking for the 1 inch break point, which is the yellow. And I see some of that in Colorado, and just a touch right there over the Wasatch. Just a touch. Here's same map. We'll change the vantage point. 5-day total precip. Again, everything's sort of coming out of this direction, and you see some of the yellows there. That's a foot of snow. 10-to-1 ratio. Very simple. It's going to be more than that. Here's 10-to-1 ratio snow over the next 5 days. So the deep purple's at least 6 inches. The bright pink would be a foot on this. And even at 10-to-1, we're seeing a foot over a lot of Colorado. And there's no question in my mind we're going to see a foot grand total over the Wasatch. And if we push this out beyond 5 days, we'd see a nice bullseye develop here across a lot of the Tetons, southwest Montana. Again, this is a very simple 10-to-1. The ratios are going to be higher than this because the air is going to be quite cold. But just, again, like I said a couple of days ago, this just gets you to the ballpark at least. Then we can find our seats after that. But this is at least a foot over parts of southwest and western Colorado. Okay, here's my official snow forecast. These are grand totals by the close of business on 12/4. 8 to 14 inches there in the Wasatch. Now, keep in mind, at least 50% of that falls today. And then the other 50% will probably fall 12/2, 12/3, somewhere in there. So 8 to 14 there. 4 to 7. Bryant 4 to 8. Bryant Head Snowball. I've got 6 to 8 up here. Big Sky, Grand Targhee, Jackson Hole, just through the 4th. There's going to be additional snow beyond that. 3 to 5 up here, a lot of Montana. Very light accumulations. BC, Pacific Northwest, barely anything in California. So let's zoom into Colorado. Again, grand totals by the end of 12/4. I've got 8 to 10 up here. Keystone, A Basin, Cameron Pass, Steamboat, Vail, Copper, Breck, Summit County, Loveland, all of that. And I've got up to 14 out here: Crested Butte, Aspen, Snowmass, Powderhorn, and up to 16 southwestern, southern Colorado. Potentially up to 10, 6 to 10 here over the top of northern New Mexico. So this is a really good snow forecast, but not all of this happens out of one storm. This is basically two storms that make up these totals. So this is a two-storm total. Looking at the Wasatch again, at least 50% of this happens today, but up to 14 here, 12 to 14 Little Cottonwood, and then up Big Cottonwood I've got a foot, and potentially 6 to 10 up here across that I-80 corridor, Park City, Deer Valley. Looking at the Northeast just quickly here, still looking at a couple different waves and even a coastal low right there. Lake effect continues off Erie, Ontario, and Michigan. Not a ton of forecast of snow up here in Vermont, New Hampshire, and that fits with my snow forecast through 12/4. I've got a lot of essentially 4 to 8 inch numbers, and that pretty much accounts for everybody. A bunch of 4s, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, and some 6s through Snow Ridge. And we'll have to see where Wachusett ends up with that coastal low, about 5. Mount Snow at 6. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this the snow on this Sunday. I appreciate everybody tuning in here. Take care and have a great day.